Hello all, welcome back to Knowledge Base. Hope everyone are doing good. Today we'll see working with Entity Framework in .NET Core applications. So our agenda for today is creating a .NET Core application, and in that we are just going to target Entity Framework. We are adding Entity Framework to our application. Within that, we are just trying to create some models, and we are creating a data context, and we are trying to run a migration script also on that, so that we can just see the complete end-to-end solution. Who am I? My name is Dheeraj Kumar, and I'm a mobile application developer. I'm having a 10 years experience in Microsoft technologies and around 4 years experience in mobile application development. You can check my blog www.guntidheerajkumar.com. Let's just start the application. I'm just creating a new project and I'm choosing .NET Core Web Application. See, for example, if your Visual Studio doesn't show up .NET Core, just try to go and install .NET Core from .NET Core website so that you can just see that particular template over here. So I'm just selecting .NET Core and I'm specifying an application name. So just click on OK. So I'm just choosing web application. Just give it a bit time to Visual Studio so that it just creates the complete template. So we just got a basic template that was created by Visual Studio, and you can see on the right hand corner in the Solution Explorer all the specific NuGet packages which are necessary for the application are being restored properly. So you can able to see these references. All the references have been restored. Let's just see just a bit glance difference between what is the main difference at solution .NET Core solution and a .NET ASP.NET 4.5 application. So if you see the two structures images, so in the left hand side you can see the application one, which is created with ASP.NET 4.5, where we just got all the same default structure that we see in a normal ASP.NET application. So we got references, we got app data, abstract, with which actually meant for route configs, web API configs and all. And we got a content folder where we just define all the CSS and styles and controllers, and we have fonts, models, scripts and everything. So in here we have one specific class file called as startup.cs, which is the specific initial point of the application start, and we got a web.config where we just define all the specific application settings and connection strings. So if you see on the right hand corner, we just got a .NET Core solution where we see a bit completely a new solution structure that was redesigned by Microsoft, where you can just see a www root folder was created. Under that we see dependencies, controllers, data, models, services, views, all the folders. We see certain similarities with respect to the folders, and other are completely new to the development. So there are certain JSON files that are included. One is app settings.json and one is project.json, where app settings.json is the where we just specify all the app setting related information and the connection strings information, and the project.json is particularly specific for anything which we are specifying as a package. So let's say I'm just trying to include one specific package into my application. We just go there directly, include that particular thing at project.json. And we have the same startup.cs, which actually is completely new, but there are certain changes that are happened to the existing file. So just trying to open app settings.json. So you see all the specific connection string information. As we don't have any app settings, we don't see any app settings section here. So everything is derived in a specific JSON format. It's kind of a key value page that we just do here. And let's just open a project.json. You see all the specific project level dependencies are being specified here. So let's just start by creating a small application where we are just trying to have a person entity in our application. So I'm just going to models, right click, add new class. So I'm just choosing a class and specifying the name as person. So I'm creating an entity with certain properties. So we just got our entity created. So we'll just create a DBContext. So the DBContext is the key element for entity framework application, where it actually behaves as an intermediate between my core database and my application. This is the key part where it actually used to manage all the specific entities and their functionalities. So I'm just going to create a DBContext, person DBContext. So I'm just trying to inherit this particular thing from DBContext. Just type it and try to resolve this. So this particular thing is coming from Microsoft.entity.core. So I'm just trying to resolve this. Let's just have a constructor. And I'm just trying to set the DBContext options as my person DBContext, and I'm just mentioning that as options. So we just got our constructor created, and we are just trying to have a certain property. So every particular entity within my application and every particular table in SQL Server, these are specifically mapped using or in other terms, every particular entity in entity framework is identified through a DB set. So let's just create an DB set first. So DB set is directly referred to as a table in my SQL Server or any other database. I'm just going to create a DB set person, and I'm just mentioning name as person. So we just got our DBContext created. So let's just move to the connection string. So we need to mention one specific connection string. So I'm just opening application settings.json. So if I just want to have multiple connection strings in my application, so I can just group them in one particular section where I can just define it as a data, and I can just group them within that particular group. So I'm just changing the name, and I just copied and pasted the same connection string so that I just want to use the same, but I just want to change the string name. That's it. So let's just have a different database name. Let's make it person DB, and I just want to make it integrated security so that I can just run it through Windows authentication also. Integrated security equals to true. So rest of the things are of similar. So we are just trying to have trusted connection, and I just want to work this particular connection string simultaneously on multiple result sets. So I'm not changing anything. So if you see this particular section, so if I just want to identify the connection strings, let's say I just want to identify the default section connection. So I just want to use this data as a key part, and using this I just want to I need to identify this default connection. So if you go to startup.cs, so in default we have like this. So but with the latest change that we have done, so we need to do like this. So it just mentions that I'm just trying to go for a data section. Within that data section I am just trying to hit the default connection string. So if you see our complete section startup class, so we just got a constructor, we just got a configure services, and we got configure. So configure is the part where we specify all the things related to logging, identity services, the exception handling, and certain actions that we do at development which should not be applied on production. And earlier we just used to have this routing concept in app start, where we just directly go and deal with route config. We just mentioned the route there, what is the default controller that it should hit and what is the default action. But that particular thing got moved to startup.cs, where we have beautiful middlewires that are being designed by Microsoft. Using those things we can just easily configure all the specific things related to routing, all the specific things related to dependency injection, identity services, and everything. So I'm just trying to go with configure services, where I just want to have I want to specify entity framework to be used in my application. So let's just make it services dot add entity framework SQL server dot add, and I want to mention my DB context. Add DB context and specify the DB context. So we have just made our application to use entity framework with SQL server, and we have just used our DB context to be identified in our application. So let's just build our application. Hope it won't break. Then the bracket missing. Okay, fine. So next, there are certain NuGet packages that are specifically needed for this application to run. So we'll just add those NuGet packages. So those packages are particularly commands. So as you all know, like .NET Core is particularly built for cross-platform. It's best suited for, means if I'm just going to create a web application, so my web application can be easily hosted across all the platforms, irrespective whether it is a Windows machine or a Linux machine or a Unix machine, whatever the machine type it is. So I can just have my application to be hosted. And this particular ASP.NET Core is a beautiful thing, where I can just host my application without the need of IIS also. So that is the beauty of .NET Core. So let's just add our commands. So I'm just trying to have a specific commands specified here, commands, and I'm just naming the commands as one thing as web, and within that I'm just trying to include Microsoft dot ASP.ASP.NET dot server dot kestrel. The other thing is EF6, which I'm just trying to name that particular thing. So, and I want to include entity framework dot commands. Just save those things, and you see on the right hand side in the solution explorer, you see all the packages that got included right now are restoring to our application. So fine. Now we'll just go to a controller. I'm just going to home controller. I'm trying to access my entity here. So let's just have my context object created. Okay. Person db, or else we'll just access through constructor. Let's just add a constructor, and I'm just trying to have person db context, and I'm just using context. Let's just resolve the issues, and this dot context equals to context. Let's resolve this and generate a variable. So we got our context object created. So where person data context dot person dot to list. So we just got one specific query where we are just trying to pull all the informations of person. Let's just run the application. Let's see what happens. So for now, we'll get rid of this. We are not dealing with any kind of identity, so for this example we'll just get rid of that. So our build got succeeded, and the app is running. We'll see what is the result that we'll be getting in the browser. So you see here, no database provider has been configured for this DBContext. A provider can be configured by overriding the DBContext.on configuring method, or by using add DBContext at application service provider. Let's just see what we have done wrong. So as per the error message, it says like the first thing that we need to do is have this, and the other thing is we need to have one more overridden method which is there in person db context, which is on configuring method. Let's just first identify that we have created a context, we have created an entity, but we didn't map that particular context with our connection string. So let's just map this particular, trying to have override on configuring, and we just got our option builder. So where we'll be using this particular option builder as a key part. DBContext person DBContext. Connection string, and we'll just mention data sample connection. So let's just have the same thing rather than repeating the code, so we'll just have the same thing here. So we have just tried to create certain DB context options, and within that we are just trying to specify the connection string which we want to pull out. So let's just run the application again, and we'll have a breakpoint here. We'll see the same error again. Let's just see. So we just see our configuration, and we have just mentioned our connection string here. So within our options settings, I'm just trying to have options.use SQL server, and within that we are just specifying our connection string. So we have done with all the specific things that we need to do at application level. So let's just create a migration. So right click on your project. So there are two ways. Either directly you can just go to command prompt and just navigate to the project location and just try to run the commands, or else on the project just go to open command line. You can just open the default command line, so automatically it just navigates to the specific folder where the application code reside. So I'm just trying to run .NET ES. So there are no errors. So for creating migrations, so we are just trying to have the same commands .NET EF, and we just got migrations as one more command, and we need to add a migration, and I'm just specifying the migration as initial start database. Hope we'll see an error. The main thing about this error is we have two different contexts in our application. So if you just go and see, we got application DB context, which is used for identity services within our application, and person DB context is the another one. So we just need to explicitly mention that to which particular DB context I need to create a migration. So let's just go and have this qualified namespace. So I'm just trying to have hyphen context. So if we are running at PowerShell, then we need to have one hyphen, and if as we are running in command prompt, we are just trying to deal with hyphen context, and I'm just trying to mention dot person db context. So you see our migration script is successfully done. So we'll just see a folder got created with name migrations, and you see person DB context model snapshot, and it has created initial start database. So let's just run the application. So So we just had a breakpoint. So let's see all the things. So everything got successfully executed. I think we have one more. Okay, let's have one more breakpoint here. Just executed the command where it just created the migration. So now we need to update the database. So .NET EF. So and database update. So the same thing which we have faced while creating the migration, the same thing has been repeated. So I'm just trying to have the complete context. We'll just take the complete context, hyphen context, and we are trying to mention dot person DBContext. So this is also done. So we'll see the Explorer, and I'm just trying to have local DB slash MSSQL server, sorry, MSSQL local DB, and we are just targeting Windows authentication, and we see our person DB got created. We have got our person entity created here, ID, address, and name. So if you just run the application now, we see records as 0, as we don't have any specific records right now. So the count is 0. So this is a specific basic default way of working with entity framework in .NET Core. So you can just go with even having some seed data that can be incorporated in this application flow. So that whenever you run the application, just have the data already populated, like the countries and states, etc. So hope you liked it. Please post your comment in the comment section, and please do subscribe for more videos. Thank you.